法律101。
听众朋友们大家好，欢迎再度收听在今天带给朋友们的法律101，我是胡美健。我们在今天为朋友们邀请的这是在休斯顿的高阶警官啊，这是 Officer James Sabota 再度参加我们的节目，带给大家对于在我们生活当中社会当中我们的居住环境社区里边的重要安全议题。那么最主要的呢，也在今天接下来的节目当中要请 Officer Sabota 来回答我们听众朋友所提出来的这个疑问，欢迎朋友们一块收听。Hello, good morning, officer.
Good morning, Pam, and good morning to all of the listeners.
Thank you for joining us today. Wow, time flies so fast. Well, usually I say this when we end of the show, but now I'll say time flies so fast. It's already March.
It is already March, and I tell you what, this year is beginning and is already in full swing, and everybody's busy. We're getting up in spring break now, and the spring flowers, trees are starting to bloom, along with the crime that's blooming also.
We like all about before the crimes, okay? We like flowers, we like beautiful weathers, but we don't like crimes. 在这
That is so true.
这个警官啊，一开始当然是和大家打个招呼，那么也谈到了在这个时节，什么都是欣欣向荣。很不幸的呢，罪犯也一样的欣欣向荣，这是我们希望能够最好是不要发生的事情。我们接下来呢，就和 Officer Sabota 呢来下边进行我们今天的节目。最主要呢是有听众朋友提出的问题，一位听众呢提到的是关于18轮大卡车啊。这个 big trucks 18 wheelers， 现在我们可以看到在高速公路方面，在路途当中越来越多的18轮大卡车，对我们来讲应该这是好现象，代表整个的经济 economy 啊，这个起来了。所以这个穿梭在道路当中运送货品的18轮卡车越来越多，经济好了。但是呢，在这样子的交通下面，那么我们听众就提出了关于18轮大卡车这个又抢道又占道，然后呢，这个有的时候按那个大喇叭，呜嘣这个样子，他们觉得这要怎么办呢？一般的交通警察管得了吗？要如何去来投诉啊？如何去管道是怎么样？这是第一个问题。那么第二个问题就是问到了，因为讲到了 Spring Break 学校放假了。这一个礼拜，我们在以往的节目当中 Officer Sabota 谈到了帮派，大部分都是属于西班牙语系，但是呢，这一次我们听众特别提到，可不可以来分析一下有没有亚裔的帮派，现在情形如何？我们总不会说我们的孩子不讲西班牙文，跟他们的文化不一样，背景不同，所以不用担心参加帮派或者被帮派影响。但是别忘了，除了西班牙语系以外，这里还有亚裔的。那么亚裔语系里面有没有亚裔族裔里边，是否也同样有这种 gangsters， 有这个帮派的问题？这两个问题我们会一开始先请 Officer Sabota 先为大家做个分析。Okay, Officer, well, I guess you already understood what my questions will be, right?
Yes.
Okay. The first one is, we talked about that before the show. It's for the 18-wheelers. Those drivers, we can tell it's more and more those 18-wheelers on the street highways, which means our economy is going up. This is a good view. Okay, the good side. Economy going up, so more and more those 18-wheelers will see them on highway, on streets. But still, that causes more problem is the way they drive, because such a huge monster car and driving so fast. Suppose they need to stay in the middle lane or slower lane, but a lot of time they drove on the high speed or overpassing those lanes and stay there. When we have audience calling asking what the regular drivers as us, what we can do. Sometimes they block the lane, or sometimes they drove too fast, and because it's huge and heavy. When they drive fast, passing you, you just feel your car is like what, the flying dish? It's like a floating, very, very dangerous and scary. So, audience one, this is the first question. Okay, and the second one is talking about the gangsters. You mentioned gangsters' activities to our audience many, many times for at the past those interviews. But most of the time we talked about Spanish, Mexicans. But now our audience wanted to know, is there any Asian gangsters in city? And well, the situation, how those gangsters, any more information about that? So 2 questions for you first.
These are very good questions, and I want to thank those callers for asking them. We'll start off with the 18-wheelers.
Okay,
as we know, Houston is a hub city, and this means that we have the Port of Houston. And if any of you have ever gone down to the Port of Houston, we have ships coming in from around the world. Mm-hmm. You can almost go on the big bridge there on 610, and you can look, and you can see the ships that are docked. And on all of these cargo ships, they have these big containers from around the world. And these ships, sometimes, just recently, there was a big problem. They were backed up, and they were in the Gulf of Mexico waiting to come in. And the problem is once they came in to the ports and unloading these docks, they had to get these out very, very quickly. So these big cranes lift these big containers off the ship, and there's trucks that are waiting. And I actually took a tour down there recently, and these trucks are just waiting down the streets, waiting to load. Okay, mm-hmm. So sometimes these trucks are pressured into delivering these goods because these goods are waiting at everything from stores to restaurants and all your big major stores like Target, Walmart, even your smaller stores and the warehouses. We have warehouses across this city waiting to get these items. And so there is pressure from some of these 18-wheelers to get there quickly.
OK， let me translate
Sure.
this. OK， 刚才呢 Officer Sabota 特别谈到，因为我们休斯顿来讲呢，我们是一个国际都市，而我们有 Port of Houston， 这个是休斯顿港里边的这个来来去去的大货轮还有停在那里卸货等。排队等着卸货的轮船和一大堆堆在那里的这个货箱在那边等着，这些呢都在抢时间、排时间、赶时间，把这些货物卸下来，然后呢由这些18轮大卡车带着他们到指定的这个 warehouse， 就是大的储藏库或者是批发中心，这些大的这个国际企业或者跨国企业的批发中心，它的这个物流中心去。所以呢，如果你要是在610 610你往这个东边一点，你都会看到 Port of Houston 这个地方，那真的是底下一大片，全部都是大的这个货箱，然后呢，远远你还是可以看到有好多的货轮排着队在那里等。我们的日常生活用品很多东西我们都依赖他们的进来，但是呢当然了，依赖他们进来的同时也得要付出一些代价，除了我们的金钱以外呢，那么这就是刚刚我们现在在讨论的关于18轮大卡车，这些司机们这些卡车们在路上飞奔的时候他们所造成的一些安全隐忧。 Yes, please.
Now, these trucks, they're pressured in for time, and time is money for a lot of these trucking companies. And so many of these trucks have to come into warehouses in the city of Houston. Now, some of them have to go to different states, and so they travel interstate on long trips to different states for hours and hours and hours. Mm-hmm. And many of these drivers are pressured into going there quickly. So they're not careful because they have to hurry up. They drive in the fast lane. Now, what people don't realize is on a truck, what's going down the freeway, you have what we call the tractor truck. That means the person that's driving the truck itself. Mm-hmm. But you also have the trailer that's hooked up, and they're pulling. And these two, the truck and the trailer, has two different license plates.
Oh, okay. So, excuse me. Usually, we're talking about truck. It's like F-150, those Ford, Chevrolet, those big car, we call it a truck. And the trailer, is that the one like 18-wheelers? Because they have a head, a car head. And
yes, the hitch. So when they connect them, and if those trucks are going within the city to warehouses, they may go and drop off that trailer. Because, mm-hmm. see, it takes time to unload that trailer. So that truck will back up in the loading dock or in the warehouse, drop off that long trailer that's usually about 50 feet long, and then the truck will go and pick up another load. Mm-hmm. So they'll drop it off. It's a hitch. And then they will go and take other trailers. The point I'm making is locally they drop off a lot of trailers, and then this truck will go back to the port and pick up another trailer that has a load on it. Okay. So now these trucks that travel long ways across different states, well, they usually keep the same trailer in the back mm-hmm. Until they get to that destination. Now, years ago, I rode with, as a program, I rode with some in the front cab of these big trucks. And some of these truck drivers told me, and I witnessed how dangerous it is. Where some drivers, not all, but some drivers, they cut real fast in front, and these trucks are very difficult to stop. Unlike a smaller car like what we drive, they cannot stop on a dime. And if they do have to slam on their brakes, see, there's two different brake systems on these trucks. You have the brake system on the truck itself, and mm-hmm. then you have another brake system on the trailer, and that's why they say jackknife. If that truck has to stop so fast, it's two different brake systems, and that's why that trailer will go sideways and yes. cause a lot mm-hmm. of damage.
Yes. OK， 在这儿啊，刚才Officer Sabota 把这一个情形，他们的实际上的车子的情形和大家做了个分析。一个呢是司机本身呢有很大的压力，要在设定的时间，甚至于这种时间是赶，因为早一点把货从这一边放到另外一边，他们的这个收入就会高一点。拉一次就高一次，这个累积起来，你当然了，你在10个小时内，你拉了5台车子，跟你拉10台这一个货柜，这是完全不一样的，这个收入就不一样了。所以呢，他们有一定的压力，而且你必须要在指定的，不能够晚。你不能够晚，只能够早到才可以。所以对于这些 18-wheelers 18轮大卡车的驾驶来讲，压力非常大。而一般我们讲的卡车 truck 这个就是我们一般讲的4轮的这种卡车。而在刚才呢Officer Sabota 呢讲的是，我们讲的18轮，我们讲大卡车，其实它是18轮货轮货柜，因为它是车头在后面 trailer 它 拉了一个货柜，而最主要的呢，这一个货柜就是里面的货，它一定要在指定时间之内把这一个货柜送到指定的地方。这两个 truck 跟 trailer 两个是不同的驾照，而它在 trailer 方面呢，它的车头跟后面的货柜有两个不同的刹车系统，所以当它开快的时候，它没有办法那么快的刹车，它一刹车，车头停了，后面的货柜没有办法停下来，就会横向。我们常看到这个18轮大卡车，或者我们在电影上看到它横向的跑，这就是它的原因啊。所以呢，这是造成很多时候在18轮大卡车它一开快的时候，它没有办法在像我们一般的时间之内可以停下来，对他们来讲，他们需要更长的时间、更长的距离才能够安全停下，否则踩急了，那就是酿成大的车祸。Yes, please.
Now, up until about 20 years ago, there was no regulation with these trucks, with the condition that they're in, how fast they go too much.And many of the drivers, how long they drive. So about 20 years ago, HPD, we formed a trucking squad, and so does the state highway department. So many times these officers will pull over these trucks, and they do inspections at random. They'll check the tires if they're worn out. They will check the air brake system, and they will check for any loose parts on the load.And they also check the drivers, how long they've been driving. They're regulated on how many hours they can drive a day. And they check many equipment parts because have you ever driven on the freeway and here in Houston and seen those big black rubber tires that come off these tires, these trucks? And sometimes you got to avoid them. And they fly, the tires on these big trucks, they fall apart. So these officers inspect.Many things on these trucks now, the weight, the condition, and the load, and also the driver. And this is a good thing because up until about 20 years ago, there was no regulation. Now, many of these drivers that go interstate, they drive for days. I've spoken to some of them, and what they take is these pills that keep you awake for hours and hours and hours of time. Because, our body needs sleep.But if we take pills to keep us awake, it can get us very agitated and very aggressive. And that's why you see so many of these truck drivers that can be agitated and aggressive on these freeways.
Yeah. 好，在这里Officer Sabota 呢也谈到了，其实20年前在20年前这个时候，我们对于在18轮这个货柜的它的审核，大概20年前才开始的，在那之前没有那么严密的法规，包括了它的刹车、它的轮胎、它车子的情形、安全性都没有那么样子的严谨，现在越来越严谨了。而这些驾驶18轮货柜的司机们、驾驶们，他们的压力在时间之内要短时间，要从 A 点到 B 点或者到 C 点，而且呢这个时间很赶，所以呢常常是彻夜通宵开车，不是只有24个小时它很可能48个小时，2天2夜不睡觉，这么高度的精神集中。朋友们开过远途的朋友，你都知道，如果你是一个人，旁边又没有人跟着你聊天，没有人跟你换的话，这个样子开下去，那真的是要命。而且呢，眼睛就是在你还不知道的时候就已经闭起来了，你还不知道自己睡着了。好，这种情形，我想每一位听众，你开了车，你都经历过。那么小车还好，这个18轮大货这个货轮的时候呢，这些司机要避免他睡着，所以他吃的是醒神药，我们讲的这种刺激性的这种小药丸，吃了以后呢，就让他不会睡觉。但是呢，精神实在，你也许没有办法睡觉，但是你真的精神会没有办法那么样子的集中下来，所以也会造成就是虽然让你不睡觉，让你醒着，但是并不代表是清醒，你只是醒着，但并不代表脑袋真的工作正常，所以这也是他们常常我们会看到18轮大卡车的意外事故发生的另外一个原因。 Yes, officer.
Now, to summarize, what can we do as drivers to keep ourselves safe and or to report a driver? The best thing is to try to stay away from these 18-wheelers. Now, it's unfortunate. Sometimes if you see signs on the road, 18-wheelers stay in middle lane. Sometimes it's posted, but sometimes it's not on interstate. But if you see 18-wheeler, there's no way that you can challenge them physically with your vehicle versus their vehicle, because if you hit their vehicle, they're going to win. They're bigger, they're heavier, and they're going to cause a lot of damage. So try to stay away from them. But if you want to try to report a driver, of course, when you're driving your vehicle at any speed, you're in control of your vehicle. But if you're able to, as I said, if you just get the back license plate number of that vehicle and then it's reported to the police, well, we're going to pull on the computer, we're going to pull that license plate on the back of that trailer. It's only going to come back to that trailer. And if we investigate it, it's very, very difficult to see what driver was pulling that trailer.
Oh.
Because they don't keep too many logs. So it's almost impossible. All that shows up is just a trailer, the big box trailer, connected to the truck. But if you want to make a report, if you can get next to that vehicle and write down or take a picture of usually on the doors, on the bigger companies, they have the names of the trucking companies, either with a phone number or a location. And there's also another number. It says TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation, or U.S. You can take a picture of that number or write it down. But remember, you're traveling at a high rate of speed, and don't be looking to the left or the right too much, because if somebody stops in front of you, you're looking to the side and you'll crash into them.
OK， 好，在这里呢，最基本的这个要诀就是。这个18轮大货柜在路上飞奔的时候，如果它占到了你的线道或者飞奔的快的时候，其实任何时候看到这种18轮大货柜的时候，我们都是保持适当的安全距离，别跟它走得太近。你要超越它，要确定前面有足够的空间，你赶快超过它啊，别跟它并行，不要跟它走得太近，这是第一个自保。那么再来的话，要举报，因为刚才 Officer Sabota 也谈到了这个 trailer， 这后面的货柜跟前面的车头，有的时候我们看到货柜，但是呢，这个货柜只是某个货柜公司，他并不晓得，他没有记录告诉你是谁在拉哪一个车，哪一个司机在拉这个货柜，货柜由 A 到 B， 由这个 port， 由这个港口到了这个warehouse， 他们没有办法知道的就是谁把这个货柜拉过来的啊，没有这一个驾驶的资料，只有货柜进出时间的资料。所以如果要举报，那么请朋友们记得，就是在他的车头旁边应该有这个卡车公司啊，他的名字，他的联系号码，然后呢，你能够把越多的相关资料照下来或者记下来，那么再提供给警方，或许这会是另外一个方式，可以协助警方，也协助你自己能够找到比较有多一点的资料，来找到到底冤有头债有主，谁是祸首这样子的情形。哇，我们的时间很快，我们另外一个关于这个 Asian Gangsters 的问题不一定有时间，如果来不及，我们会在下一次再请 Officer 回答大家。Well, Officer, time is running out. I don't think we will have enough time to talk about gangsters. I guess probably we can save this question for our next show.
Yes, this is a very good topic, and we'll just give you a little teaser right now. Yes, we were talking about gangsters, Asian gangsters, different culture gangsters in Texas and all across the country. And we will actually talk about how they're created, how they're managed, all the way from prison, all the way down to the streets. So we will have a full show about this and it will be very interesting and very educational.
好，在现在因为时间的关系，关于在帮派黑帮呢帮派的这一个主题呢，这位提出来的朋友们，我们在下一次的节目当中 Officer Sabota 会系列的来讨论介绍，让大家了解在我们休斯顿，在德州，在我们休斯顿来讲，这些帮派不管是它的背景，它是西语系或者它是亚洲亚语系，也许有华裔呢，也许会有 Chinese 的 gangsters 或者有 Vietnamese， 我们都不知道，我们不是那么了解，印象当中好像是有，但是有多深入的了解记得不知道呢。所以呢，我们在下一次的节目当中 Officer Sabota 会为大家做详细的分析。今天的节目呢，时间到了，我们得要在这里告一段落。先谢谢我们听众朋友们的收听，也谢谢 Officer Sabota 在今天的参与。我们下一次在节目当中继续和大家一块讨论关心。Well, thank you for joining us today, Officer, and we're looking forward to talking to you next month.
It's always a pleasure, and thank you very much. And everybody, please stay safe.
Thank you.